Your neighbors are going to walk past your yard this August and stop. Not because you worked harder than them, not because you spent more money than them, but because you made one smart decision in May. The right plants, the right month, while they were still convincing themselves they had missed their chance for the season. May is not a consolation prize. May is not the month you settle for after missing April. May is its own window, arguably the most powerful planting window of the entire year for fast-spreading perennials specifically. The soil is warm, the days are long, the conditions that trigger aggressive root expansion and rapid above-ground spread are operating right now, in this month, with an intensity that cool April ground never quite reaches. The plants that spread fastest, fill space most generously, and establish most permanently are the ones that respond most dramatically to exactly these conditions. 11 perennials, every one of them fast-spreading, every one of them returning bigger every year, every one of them multiplying into free plants while you sit on your porch, and all of them capable of transforming a bare, disappointing yard into something full, alive, and genuinely beautiful by the time August arrives. If you plant them this month rather than continuing to wait. Let's not waste another second. Plant 1 is creeping phlox. Most people have never planted this, and every single one of them feels a specific kind of frustration the first time they see a neighbor's slope absolutely buried in color. Electric pink, bright white, deep magenta, soft lavender cascading down a hillside like a waterfall frozen mid-pour. That is what creeping phlox does. Nothing else on the market does it quite the same way. May planting for creeping phlox is strategically different from April planting in one important way. By May, the main bloom flush is finishing or just finished, which means the plant's energy is shifting entirely from flowering into the vegetative spread that defines its growth for the rest of the year. Those trailing stems that root wherever they touch soil are now operating at peak activity. A May planting goes into the ground at the exact moment when spreading is the plant's primary biological focus, which means the ground coverage visible by September will often exceed what an April planting achieves in the same time frame. Phlox subulata is hardy in zones 3 through 9. It spreads outward by 2 feet or more every single season through self-rooting trailing stems without any help from you. A slope covered in established creeping phlox never needs mowing again. Highway departments plant it on embankments specifically to eliminate both erosion and ongoing maintenance permanently. That problem slope in your yard, the one you've been fighting with a mower or ignoring with growing guilt, is this plant's perfect home. Plant in full sun to light shade in well-draining soil. After bloom finishes, shear lightly. One cut, 10 minutes, done for the season. That single trim keeps the mat dense, encourages stronger spread in the following season, and prevents woody center dieback. That is the complete annual maintenance requirement for a plant that holds soil, eliminates mowing, and produces one of the most spectacular spring displays available to any American gardener, getting more breathtaking every single year. Tell me in the comments, do you have a slope, a bare patch, or a spot that has defeated every plant you've ever tried there? Tell me what state you're in, because I guarantee at least 3 plants on this list were specifically built for exactly that problem. Plant 2 is daylily. This plant grows in Alaska. It grows in Florida. It grows through Arizona summers and Minnesota winters. Hemerocallis is hardy in zones 1 through 11, the entire country, every single state, every climate, with essentially no exceptions. If that one fact doesn't tell you everything about how unstoppable this plant is, nothing will. The color range is staggering in a way that makes choosing genuinely enjoyable. Over 80,000 registered cultivars cover deep burgundy, soft peach, bright orange, pale lemon, creamy white, rich purple, vivid red, and bicolor combinations that look almost too perfect to be real. Plant a deliberate mix of early, mid-season, and late varieties together, and you get continuous, overlapping waves of bloom from early summer through mid-fall without gaps, without replanting, without spending another dollar. May planting for daylilies activates an immediate root response that cool April soil doesn't produce as quickly. Those thick, fleshy, tuberous roots respond to soil temperatures above 60 degrees with aggressive expansion, building the water storage capacity and underground spread potential that drive the plant's increasingly generous performance in every subsequent season. The root system building through May is the same root system that doubles and triples the clump size over the following 2 years. Here is the economic reality that makes daylilies genuinely different from every other plant at the nursery. Every 4 to 5 years, divide the expanding clump. One mature plant yields 10 to 15 individual divisions. At current nursery prices, one original daylily eventually produces over $100 worth of free plants from a single morning with a garden fork. That is not gardening. That is a compounding return on a $10 investment that pays out indefinitely. One critical note stated clearly: daylilies are acutely toxic to cats. Every part of the plant, including the pollen. If outdoor cats use your garden regularly, skip this one entirely, or fence it off completely. For households without cats, there is no more universally adaptable, more color-diverse, more economically generous perennial available to American gardeners anywhere in this country. Plant 3 is bee balm. If you have never had a hummingbird hover 2 feet from your face while you are sitting in your own backyard, this is the plant that makes that happen. And once it happens once, that specific moment of a wild creature choosing to be that close, you will never garden without bee balm again. Monarda diadema is hardy in zones 3 through 9. The flowers are spiky, tubular, and vivid in a way that looks genuinely unlike anything else in a May-planted perennial border. Blazing red, deep, rich pink, purple-violet, and bright white in colors so saturated they stop people mid-stride. That tubular shape is not just visually distinctive, it is biologically engineered for hummingbird feeding. The beak length matches perfectly. The birds return every day through the entire bloom season. Monarchs follow, tiger swallowtails follow, bumblebees work the flowers from morning until evening. One bee balm planting supports more wildlife species simultaneously than almost anything else on today's list combined. Something that surprises nearly every gardener who discovers it for the first time. Bee balm is in the mint family, and the leaves are completely edible, brewing into a tea with a flavor remarkably similar to Earl Grey, the same bergamot-like aromatic compound that defines that tea's character. You are growing a hummingbird garden, a butterfly habitat, and a functional kitchen herb simultaneously from the same May planting. Choose mildew-resistant cultivars specifically. Jacob Klein for deep, blazing red. Raspberry Wine for rich, deep pink. Both perform reliably across most American zones with significantly less maintenance than older varieties. It spreads through underground rhizomes and fills a large space within 2 to 3 seasons, which means a May planting this year becomes the kind of established, wildlife-filled colony that people stop and photograph by the summer after next. Plant 4 is Black-Eyed Susan Goldstrom. Black-Eyed Susan grows wild along American roadsides from Maine to Texas. You have driven past it your entire life. And yet, people still pull into garden centers every spring and pay $10 a pot for something nature has been growing for free along every highway in this country for centuries. That stops right now. Because once you understand what the Goldstrom cultivar specifically does, you will never look at a roadside stand of the standard species the same way again. Rudbeckia fulgida Goldstrom is hardy in zones 3 through 9. Golden yellow petals radiating from a chocolate center that reads as almost black in strong light. The contrast is vivid and electric, in a way that photographs genuinely cannot capture. You have to see it catching late afternoon light in a real garden to understand why people slow their cars. University performance trials document that Goldstrom blooms longer and more prolifically than the straight species. When you are standing in the nursery choosing between Rudbeckia options, Goldstrom is the one worth reaching for every single time. It blooms from July through October. Right when most summer gardens are becoming exhausted and sparse, Goldstrom is hitting its stride. When your neighbor's gardens are fading in August, yours is covered in gold. That late-season reliability alone makes it one of the most strategically valuable plants in a May planting plan. Leave the seed heads standing through winter. Do not cut them in the fall cleanup. Goldfinches, sparrows, and chickadees feed on them from October through February. While your neighbors spend money on plastic bird feeders, your garden feeds wildlife for free all winter. That is the native plant advantage operating exactly as it was designed to. Plant 5 is yarrow. This plant grows in gravel. It grows in cracked, dry hardpan. It grows in the spots where you have already killed 3 other plants and walked away in frustration. And then it blooms for months without asking you for water, fertilizer, attention, or anything at all in return. Achillea millefolium is hardy in zones 3 through 9. Flat-topped flower clusters in yellow, white, pink, coral, and deep red depending on variety. Paprika and strawberry seduction being 2 named cultivars with rich, warm tones that photograph spectacularly against the silver-green foliage. That foliage is intensely aromatic, which is precisely why deer and rabbits approach, catch the scent, and move on without a second consideration. The plant is the deterrent. No spray required. No reapplication after rain. Just the plant, doing what it evolved to do. Yarrow releases allelopathic compounds from its roots into the surrounding soil, natural chemicals that actively suppress weed germination in the area around the established plant. A built-in biological weed management system running from the root zone continuously at zero cost. Simultaneously, the flowers attract parasitic wasps, lacewings, and hoverflies that prey on aphids, whiteflies, and soft-bodied pests that quietly damage everything planted nearby. While yarrow blooms, it is running a pest management program you never scheduled and never paid for. That level of biological contribution from a flowering perennial is genuinely remarkable. Plant it in your worst soil, your most neglected, most difficult, most inhospitable spot. Rich, heavily amended soil makes yarrow floppy and disappointing. Poor, dry, rocky soil makes it bloom harder, stand taller, and spread more aggressively than expected. That is not settling. That is matching plant to conditions, the single most important principle in perennial gardening. Every division from an established 3-year clump is a complete, fully viable blooming plant. One mature yarrow clump yields 8 to 10 free divisions from a single morning with a garden fork. At nursery prices, that is real money from 30 minutes of your time. Plant 6 is catmint. If deer have eaten your garden 2 seasons running and you are officially done being patient about it, this is the conversation you needed before you spent another $1 on something that became a deer's breakfast by morning. Nepeta X Phocenia, Walker's Low, is hardy in zones 4 through 8. Lavender blue flowers over silvery gray aromatic foliage from late spring through midsummer, mounding naturally and cascading beautifully over pathway edges and border fronts without any training from you. It finds its own shape, and its shape is genuinely elegant. Deer evaluate plants by scent before they ever attempt to eat them. Catmint's aromatic oils repel deer at the approach stage, before contact, before damage. Unlike spray repellents that wash off in the first rain and need reapplying every 2 to 3 weeks, this plant is the repellent. Always on, every day, all season, year after year without a single additional application. Cut back by half after the first bloom flush peaks. Wait 3 weeks. It returns fuller and more vigorous with a complete second wave that carries through late summer. 2 full bloom seasons from one plant in 1 year. Deer deterrence, continuous border color, and extraordinary pollinator support. 3 problems solved simultaneously from one May planting that builds into a more impressive specimen every season it returns. Plant 7 is hardy geranium. This is the most underused spreading perennial in American home gardening right now. Experienced gardeners have it in every border they own. Beginners have never heard of it. That gap is precisely why it belongs here. This is not the annual pelargonium at every big box store entrance that dies at first frost. Hardy geranium is a true perennial that returns, spreads, and divides into free plants for decades. Geranium X cantabrigiense is hardy in zones 4 through 8. Biocovo for soft white with a pink blush. Carmina for deeper rose pink. Both spreading reliably without ever becoming invasive. Low mounding foliage stays attractive all season, turns rich bronze red in fall, and remains semi-evergreen through winter in zones 6 and warmer. It handles dry shade under large established trees, that notoriously unforgiving condition where surface roots compete for every drop of moisture, better than almost any other spreading perennial of comparable beauty in this country. That dark corner under your oak or maple that has defeated every previous attempt is this plant's natural home. One hard shearing after first bloom, fresh foliage, and a genuine second flush within 3 weeks. Beyond that single annual task, virtually nothing required. Plant 8 is garden phlox. There is one plant on this list you will smell before you see it. Not from a few feet away, from across the yard. On a still August evening, you will catch that fragrance before you have even looked up to find its source. That moment is why gardeners have grown this plant for over 100 years. Phlox paniculata is hardy in zones 4 through 8. Large dome-shaped clusters in pink, purple, deep red, white, and hand-painted bicolors, blooming mid to late summer precisely when the spring flush is finished and the garden needs something to carry it through fall. Choose mildew-resistant cultivars, David for white, Robert Poor for purple-pink, Gina for soft lavender. Plant with good air circulation, water at the base. Those 3 decisions eliminate the mildew reputation entirely and give you years of spectacular, fragrant bloom. Cut stems for the house. One vase fills an entire room with fragrance for a full week. Plant 9 is goldenrod. Millions of Americans have blamed this plant for fall allergies for decades. They are completely, scientifically wrong. Goldenrod produces heavy, sticky, insect-carried pollen that physically cannot become airborne. It has never caused a single allergy attack. It simply bloomed alongside ragweed, the actual culprit, and took the blame for one of the greatest cases of mistaken botanical identity in American gardening history. Solidago rugosa fireworks is hardy in zones 4 through 9. Flower stems arching outward in long, graceful sprays of tiny golden yellow flowers, radiating in every direction, exactly like fireworks frozen mid-explosion. Blooming September and October, when most perennial options have exhausted themselves. Supporting over 100 species of native bees, butterflies, and beneficial insects. One May planting that spreads by rhizomes, divides into free plants every 3 years, and feeds the local insect ecosystem every autumn indefinitely. Before today, did you believe goldenrod caused allergies? Drop your honest answer in the comments and tell me what state you garden in. Plant 10 is lamb's ear. Children stop when they walk past it. Adults stop. Visitors who have never gardened a day reach down without being invited to. Stachys byzantina is hardy in zones 4 through 8. Those thick, densely woolly silver-white leaves creating a tactile memory in every person who touches them. That memory brings people back to your garden. That memory is what makes an outdoor space genuinely unforgettable. The silver-white foliage amplifies every color planted near it. Purple looks richer. Pink looks softer. Red looks more saturated. Landscape designers reach for lamb's ear constantly because it makes every surrounding plant perform better visually without competing with any of them. Beyond the design value, that dense hair structure is drought engineering at the cellular level, dramatically reducing moisture evaporation, while softer-leaved plants nearby are wilting and struggling in July heat. It spreads through surface stolons that root at nodes as they travel, filling ground cover gaps steadily and suppressing weeds as the dense foliage closes in. Semi-evergreen in zone 6 and warmer, providing silver-white structure through winter when everything around it has gone gray and bare. Virtually no maintenance, continuously beautiful. getting more established and more effective as a design element with every passing season. Plant 11 is New England aster. Every plant on this list earns its place through spring and summer. This one earns its place in October, when everything else is browning, when most gardens have surrendered to fall, when the season feels finished. That is when New England aster explodes with colors so rich and saturated, they look almost unreal against the golden autumn landscape surrounding them. Symphyotrichum novae anglii is hardy in zones 3 through 8. Deep violet purple, rich lavender, bright pink, pure white with golden centers that glow in low autumn light. The color deepens in fall rather than washing out, performing in September and October with the same intensity that summer plants produce in June. That quality is genuinely rare. Asters are among the last reliable nectar sources for monarch butterflies before their migration to Mexico. Monarch Watch documents New England aster as a critical fueling station on the eastern flyways. One May planting supports one of the most extraordinary migrations on this planet simply by being there and blooming in October. Right now in May, pinch every stem back by half. In late June, pinch back by half again. 2 cuts. That is the complete management investment that produces a dense, compact, self-supporting mound with dramatically more flower stems than an unpinched plant delivers. Gardeners who skip this get a fraction of the display. Gardeners who do it get an October spectacle that stops everyone who walks past. 3 rules that determine whether everything planted this May succeeds or struggles. Fix drainage first. Dig a hole 1 foot deep, fill it with water, and if it hasn't drained within an hour, you have a problem that will undermine every plant on this list. Fix it once with coarse sand and compost worked deeply into the existing soil. It permanently changes what your ground can support. Division is free money. Every plant here divides every 3 to 4 years into complete, fully viable blooming plants worth $10 to $20 each at any nursery. One mature clump yields $50 to $150 of free plants from a single morning with a garden fork. Never buy a plant twice that you already have growing. Leave the seed head standing through winter. The instinct to cut everything down in autumn is costing you wildlife value, natural reseeding, and the overwintering habitat that brings beneficial insects back every spring. Leave them. The garden will be more alive and more naturally abundant for it. 11 plants. One May planting window that is open right now and closing. Tell me in the comments which plant you are putting in the ground first and what state or zone you are gardening in. Those answers shape what this channel covers next. And somewhere in the comments, a gardener in your exact zone dealing with your exact conditions is reading what you write and making better decisions because of it. May is your chance. These 11 plants are ready. Use the month. Thank you for watching this video. Click here to watch another video that might interest you.